Shadow Hunt Team. That's the name we chose when we decided to form a wild boar hunting team. Every member joined with a shared mission to protect the peace of farmlands and forest edge plantations. Right now, join us on today's hunt and uncover the surprises waiting ahead. We arrived at the forest early in the morning, eager to begin the hunt with our team. While moving through the underbrush, I suddenly heard familiar footsteps. It had to be wild boars. I quickly raised my rifle, ready to fire. From the opposite side, a whole herd appeared out of nowhere. I immediately pulled the trigger. The bullet hit its mark, and one dropped instantly. To be sure, I fired another round, ensuring my team's safety. Just moments later, Austin, who was ahead of me, spotted another herd, nearly 10 boars charging down. They tried to escape, but with Austin's pinpoint shot, a few let out a sharp cry and collapsed. A shocking and sudden start, but thanks to it, we already had impressive early results. Our team continued to push deeper into the forest's hidden corners. Just 50 meters in, a wild boar herd suddenly burst out in front of us. They were smart, running and zigzagging unpredictably. But I didn't let the chance slip away. I raised my gun, locked on, and pulled the trigger. Though they were fast, a few couldn't outrun the bullet and fell right after. The gunshots echoed through the forest, sending the boars fleeing in panic. But we'd anticipated that and set up ambushes. From his hiding spot, my teammate quickly aimed and fired a clean shot. One boar dropped on the spot. Seconds later, he took down another. Swift, clean, and flawless. I sprinted ahead alone, determined to intercept a boar Alana had spotted trying to escape. At the forest's edge, I finally caught up. Without hesitation, I raised my gun and fired decisively. Caught off guard, the boar didn't have time to react. Down it went instantly. Near the forest edge, our hunting dogs, blessed with sharp noses, picked up something and darted off. Thanks to them, Alana located the wild boar and got into position. As it stepped out from the trees, she raised her gun and fired. Perfect. A stunning shot by Alana. Just as Austin and I reached the edge of the forest, a boar leapt out from a bush. Without thinking, Austin reacted with a single, precise shot. It dropped immediately. At the same time, John, stationed across from us, intercepted another boar. He quickly raised his gun and fired. Brilliant! That boar was taken down in under 10 seconds. Wild boar hunting is a regular activity in our area. We're aware this can be controversial in terms of ethics and conservation. But given their rapid reproduction and the serious damage they cause, we're forced to act. And every hunt we conduct strictly follows the law. As both a farmer and a modern-day hunter, I'm always striving to find the most effective ways to protect my fields. Instead of sitting back and complaining about the wild boars that constantly ravage my corn crops, I chose to take action through hunting, a practical and efficient method of controlling their population. Join us as we embark on this journey and discover what lies ahead. After a few minutes of quietly surveying the terrain, our scope finally caught sight of a wild boar. It was strolling leisurely, completely unaware it had entered our sights. Even though the distance wasn't ideal, I decided to take a chance with a long-range shot. The rifle was ready, just waiting for the right moment. Fire. The gunshot echoed through the mountains. The bullet struck its mark, knocking the boar off balance and sending it tumbling down the slope. But it wasn't down for good. Despite the shot, the hefty animal struggled to its feet and fired a final shot to ensure it couldn't retaliate or pose any danger. Not long after, the agitated growls of the hunting dogs rang out across the forest, signaling that something was happening nearby. The sound came from a patch of thick bushes just ahead. I carefully moved forward and raised my gun. A A single clean, decisive shot brought the animal down instantly. The chase grew more intense by the minute. As we crossed over yet another mountain ridge, we encountered a massive herd of wild boars. Their size alone was enough to excite any hunter. We couldn't miss the opportunity and opened fire together. However, the quick-footed boars scattered and vanished into the underbrush. Only a few unlucky ones were brought down, lying motionless on the forest floor. We weren't about to give up that easily. We were determined to pursue the fleeing herd. Immediately, a signal was sent to our teammates to block the exit, a tried and true tactic that always yields results. As soon as a boar's silhouette emerged, my friend took the shot, striking the alpha right in its tracks. A barrage of gunfire followed, sending the rest of the herd into a panic. But no matter how fast they ran, some couldn't escape their fate. Our luck held as another group of wild boars suddenly appeared. Not to be outdone, we reloaded and fired continuously. But these cunning creatures were incredibly agile, weaving skillfully through the bushes, and before long, they had vanished completely, leaving only the sound of gunfire and a lingering scent. The wild boar population here is beyond measure. They travel in large groups and move at incredible speed. Despite our best efforts and constant shooting, the number we managed to bring down was barely a dent in their overwhelming and ever-growing population. As we made our way down a narrow path toward the base of the mountain, we suddenly heard strange rustling sounds from the bushes. Without hesitation, I squeezed the trigger. The gunshot rang out, and my heart pounded from the adrenaline of that split-second decision. Wild hogs are not native to Wisconsin. They were introduced to the United States hundreds of years ago, and over time, they interbred with domestic pigs and thrived. Global warming and shorter winters have allowed them to survive and expand their territory into the northern United States. We hunt these animals every week in the forest next to the farm. I never thought I would become a professional boar hunter. The reason is that over the past 2 years, wild boars have attacked my farm and caused thousands of dollars in damage. So I decided to pick up a gun, not for fun, but to protect my own land. Seeing the first wild boar, my heart pounded. I aimed firmly. After a gunshot, the biggest wild boar collapsed on the spot. The rest ran away. With its mountainous terrain and dense brush, Wisconsin is an ideal environment for feral hogs to hide in. If you're a farmer in an area where feral hogs are showing signs of an invasion, don't wait until your entire crop is wiped out. Take action now. From a distance, we saw the wild boars moving from one bush to another. When the wild boar stopped, we felt this was our chance to take it. Without hesitation, I pulled the trigger. Just a moment later, we spotted a wild boar. Perhaps it sensed danger, so it stopped to listen. And it could not have imagined that this would be its last moment. On this hunting trip, we have to admit that wild boars are very smart and sensitive. They can sense danger approaching and run away. So to take down wild boars, we all have to be patient and wait for the opportunity. The wild boar runs quite fast. We must seize the opportunity to kill it. The hunting area is very large. Most of the time we move around to find the place with the most wild boars. Hanner, a Belgian-American friend, showed me some tips on hunting wild boars. He said, they often move through the trails every day to feed. We can ambush wild boars there. Sure enough, right on the trail, we saw quite a few wild boars running past. On the way to collect the spoils, we encountered a giant wild boar. See, it looked so big and fat. From a distance, we thought it was a black bear. Wow, we were so excited to have killed the giant wild boar. In the late afternoon, we set some bait traps in the forest edge area around the farm and lured the wild boars in with food. We would ambush them nearby. The available food attracted a herd of wild boars to come and feed. Well, we will shoot the biggest pigs. My companion and I shot together and took down the fattest wild boar.
This is a
An unsuspecting wild boar was shot down by us with just one shot. It was getting dark. We decided to hunt one last pig. Luckily, a herd of wild boars appeared. They were so busy feeding that they didn't notice our presence. It was that lack of vigilance that brought down a pig.
Let's go! Let's go!
The hunt ended late in the afternoon. We collected the wild boars and moved to the staging area. We will continue to hunt in this area for the next few days as there are too many wild boars here. Mugla Province, located in southwestern Turkey, is famous for its stunning beaches and wild mountainous landscapes. But beneath this beauty lies a growing and hard-to-control threat: the explosion of the wild boar population. According to local authorities, more than 300 hectares of crops were destroyed just last year, leaving hundreds of farmers in serious distress. What makes things even worse is that pork isn't commonly consumed in Turkey, so their population has been skyrocketing unchecked. This situation has pushed many hunting groups into action, including us, with the hope of curbing this escalating threat. So let's not waste any time. Let's dive right in. As soon as we arrived in the western mountains of Dakka, one of the region's wild boar hotspots, we took up our positions. We didn't have to wait long. Within minutes, we spotted a boar sprinting at high speed. Without hesitation, we gave chase and opened fire, bringing home our first trophy of the day. To our surprise, there wasn't just one, there were many more nearby. The air was suddenly filled with the sound of barking dogs and shrill squeals from the boars, turning the atmosphere tense and electric. We pressed on with wave after wave of attacks, managing to take down several right on the spot. What shocked me the most was their size, massive, muscular, and thick-bodied like monsters lurking in the forest. After leaving the forest, we moved to a lower hill with a clearer view, perfect for spotting targets. From there, I locked eyes on a big, strong alpha boar making a run for it. I held my breath, lined up the perfect shot, and dropped it with a single bullet. The entire team then shifted focus toward the remaining boars nearby, hoping to bring down a few more. Following a trail through the underbrush, I quietly set up an ambush. Then, out of nowhere, a wild boar burst out from the forest. Without thinking, I raised my rifle and fired a clean, experienced shot that ended it in an instant. While scanning the area for more targets, an entire herd suddenly appeared, hair standing on end as if sensing danger. They scattered chaotically through the brush. After tracking them for a while, I finally spotted one dashing across my field of view. I seized the moment, pulled the trigger, and landed a critical hit. We kept up the pursuit and took down a few more. What really caught us off guard was just how many of them were still out there. And then, out of nowhere, a lone boar tried to escape by dashing along the mountain slope. But I spotted it just in time and dropped it with a flawless shot. The further we went, the more tracks and signs we uncovered. Following the trail, we arrived at a dense thicket. I finally located the target. Weapon ready. I aimed straight for a vital spot. The shot rang out, and the boar collapsed instantly. On our way back, we unexpectedly ran into a few more stragglers, quick and on high alert. I didn't waste a chance. I stalked them quietly, waiting for an opening. A few well-placed shots later, another one went down, wrapping up a day full of surprises. You see, wild boars can reproduce all year round, with each litter producing 6 to 12 piglets. Without proper control, they'll keep tearing through crops and threatening people's livelihoods. We might have taken down quite a few today, but in the grand scheme of things, this is just a tiny chapter in a long battle against these smart, dangerous animals.
Wild boars are a nightmare for farmers. They dig up the ground in search of food, destroy pastures, and damage crops. What's alarming is that this invasive species reproduces at an incredibly fast rate, with each female capable of giving birth to up to 12 piglets per litter and reproducing twice a year. Local authorities have tried everything to control them, from setting traps, building fences, to using chemicals, but the boar population continues to rise. And that's why today our team has decided to head out, not just because of our passion for hunting, but also to protect the farmers' fields that are being destroyed by these wild boars every day. This morning, the sun was gently shining, and we began our hunt in a small forest behind a neighbor's house. As soon as we arrived, the team quickly set up the guns, took their positions, and waited for signals from the hunting dogs. After a while of waiting, the sound of barking broke through the air. A wild boar, trapped by the dogs, burst out of the forest, charging straight toward us. Seeing the opportunity, I moved the gun along with the boar's movements and fired. The first two shots just grazed its back, making it stagger. But with the third shot, the bullet hit its mark and completely brought it down. So, we had our first trophy of the day. After carefully scouting the terrain for a while, we realized that this forest was relatively small and didn't have many wild boars, so the team decided to move to a different area. The pack of dogs was still full of energy, running ahead to search for prey. Thanks to that, as soon as we left the forest, we encountered the next wild boar. The boar was struggling to find a way out under a small stream. I calmly raised my gun and fired. A precise shot brought the prey down on the spot. On the other side of the stream, there was a gentle hill covered in thick bushes as tall as a person, an ideal hiding spot for the boars. However, with a favorable vantage point and eyes always alert to the smallest movement in the trees, I would notice the boars the moment they moved. Sure enough, not long after, a dark shape quietly slithered between the bushes. Several gunshots rang out in quick succession. One bullet hit, but it wasn't a fatal shot. The boar panicked, turned around, and managed to run a few more meters in the opposite direction before collapsing and rolling down the hillside. After more than an hour here, the team decided to move to another forest area, one where wild boar packs frequently appeared. As soon as we arrived, the pack of dogs immediately picked up the scent of a group of boars hiding behind some dense bushes. I tightened the trigger, fired a few shots to flush them out. The entire group panicked and ran off with growls echoing through the deep forest. Then I spotted a wild boar still hiding under the trees. Not missing the chance, I lowered my gun and fired, successfully finishing off the target. The team ventured deeper into the forest to hunt for new prey. Less than half an hour later, a large boar entered my sight. We continued hunting into the late afternoon. Then the whole team stopped on a trail leading out of the forest, waiting for the last few prey before the end of the hunt. Suddenly, a wild boar dashed across the road, raising a cloud of dust. I instinctively reacted, raised my gun, and aimed decisively. Right after that, another boar dashed out and became the next target. Another precise shot brought the prey down on the spot. The sun slowly set behind the hill, casting a golden-orange light across the forest landscape. We turned back, retracing our steps on the trail, concluding the hunt with many memorable victories.
My name is Xanis, a passionate hunter since childhood. I grew up among the mountains and forests of Galicia, where the sound of gunfire from wild boar hunts became a defining part of my early years. But this time, I set out for Los Angeles, a remote and rugged land in the southern part of the country, after receiving an invitation from an old friend. Come along with me as we embark on this adventure right now. At 6 a.m., we arrived at the mountainous plain. This hunt was different from the others. We brought along a drone for aerial scouting, paired with a team of elite hunting dogs. This combination made locating prey in the dense forest far more efficient. And we didn't have to wait long. The first target soon revealed itself. I quickly moved into a good vantage point and took aim. The gunshot rang out powerfully, and the boar succumbed to a fate that had already been sealed. After our initial success, we changed tactics, splitting into smaller groups and positioning ourselves at different strategic points. From where Paul and I were stationed, a herd of boars suddenly came into view. They bolted so fast that we had to fire immediately. Despite the chaos, our hurried shots still managed to hit. Wild boars can run at speeds of up to 40 km/h. That's why even seasoned hunters like us sometimes miss. It's just part of the At other locations, my teammates were also having success, taking down several more targets. The boars, with their scruffy, black coats, scattered in a frenzy at the sound of gunfire. Yet even in the chaos, many couldn't escape the deadly aim of experienced hands. I made my way over to join the rest of the team in a coordinated ambush. Suddenly, what a sight below, one boar was being closely pursued by a pack of dogs. Despite the relentless attack, it managed to break free and charged up the hillside. There was no time to lose. I took aim and quickly squeezed the trigger. 2 shots thundered across the slope, and only then did the boar finally collapse. Though I've been on countless hunts, I still can't help but admire the sheer endurance and survival instinct of these animals. Before we could even catch our breath, another target appeared, forcing us to raise our rifles once more. This lone boar sprinted off at incredible speed, cunningly weaving into the brush to escape, leaving behind only a cloud of dust in the wake of our missed shots. Then, as if to make up for the one that got away, another boar suddenly emerged. This time, I stayed calm, took careful aim, and waited for the perfect moment. A precise shot to the beak brought the boar crashing down instantly. The next 10 minutes passed in silence, until a shadow suddenly darted by. Knowing I couldn't miss this chance, I fired immediately, but the shot went wide, and the target disappeared into the thick trees. Although we were already worn out, we kept searching patiently for more game. Then, finally, another boar appeared. Determined to redeem myself, I took a confident shot, sealing the hunt with a decisive and satisfying victory.
For the past 2 weeks, villagers in a rural region of Turkey have been constantly complaining about wild boars destroying their crops and even attacking livestock at night. Despite trying various traditional methods, the problem persisted. Faced with this urgent situation, our hunting team teamed up with the locals to take action. And so began the chase for these destructive invaders. This would be our first ambush of the day. We had just gotten into position when the first dark shapes started to emerge from the distance. Startled by the gunshot, the boar bolted, crashing through the underbrush trying to escape. After several more rounds, it finally collapsed onto the forest floor, and I couldn't help but celebrate the moment. Following that first success, our team advanced the mountain slope. We immediately got into position, constantly adjusting our scopes as the herd moved unpredictably through the rough terrain. The first shots were fired from a considerable distance, a real challenge. But thanks to sharp focus and accurate shooting, We managed to bring down several targets in the blink of an eye. We had only moved a short distance when suddenly, another familiar silhouette appeared. The moment it poked out from the brush,
Ify red, quick, clean.
and precise. Not far from there,
Another wild boar darted out.
I stood my ground, gripped the rifle tightly, and opened fire. Unfortunately, my first shot missed.
J20 de animal a chance tout sprint away.
Luckily, my hunting partner had been waiting further down the slope. Right beside us, another friend fired and sent a second boar tumbling to the ground. The loud barking of our hunting dogs led us to another boar trying to hide. But this one wouldn't go down easy.
Levé d'instinct driven.
It slipped through narrow gaps and dense foliage. Our team opened fire, but the boar kept weaving through the undergrowth.
Toute manœuvrine et vribulée. The herd manageait tout esquiver.
Leaving us behind, frustrated and regretful. We pressed on over rugged, rocky trails, making our way toward the mountain peak. Scanning the landscape ahead, we spotted a herd of boars charging downhill. Determined not to let them get away, we quickly spread out and blocked off key escape routes. As soon as the boars broke from the trees, my buddy and I opened fire.
Letting off a storm of bullets.
Despite their frantic dash, two of them fell almost instantly. We were certain more wild boars were still hiding nearby. The team kept searching. Suddenly, under fierce pursuit by our dogs, a huge boar burst from the bushes, startling everyone. But this was no ordinary prey. It was strong, fast, and surprisingly agile. One final burst, then it collapsed in the middle of the forest, bringing an end to a truly intense encounter.
Hunting wild boars in Chaparral, California, is no free-for-all. The law here is strict. Hunters must be licensed and may only use legal weapons such as firearms or bows. But even with full compliance, the hunt is no easy task. Boars in this region are cunning, tough, and highly alert. Still, our hunting team headed out, because if we let our guard down for even a day, the boars would be back, wreaking havoc in the city. After discussing our strategy, our team split up, each armed and scanning the brush for any signs of movement. About half an hour into the search, I had my first encounter. A massive wild boar suddenly charged down the slope ahead, crashing through the underbrush directly toward me. With only 4 meters between us, I held my breath, steadied my aim, and pulled the trigger. The first shot staggered it, but tried to turn and flee. I quickly followed up with a second shot, this time a clean kill. Not far off, our hunting dogs had picked up a fresh scent. I followed the sound of barking to find a pair of boars sneaking through the trees. A few quick shots rang out. Startled, the boars bolted uphill. I calmly tracked them through the scope, my view partly blocked by thick branches. But years of hunting had honed my instincts. I waited for the perfect moment, then squeezed the trigger. Another successful takedown. While moving along the mountain's edge toward another section of forest, I encountered yet another giant boar. Boars are smart. They often use patrol paths, game trails, or small dirt roads for easier travel. That's why hunters often find them lurking along forest roads. But unlike deer, they don't cross gently. They rush, giving us only seconds to react. Miss that window and they're gone. After those tense moments, we moved into another stretch of forest where boars often travel in herds. I picked a high, rocky outcrop for a better vantage point and waited. Sure enough, a group of more than 10 boars came charging through my line of sight. Excited, I leveled my gun and fired a few quick shots. But unfortunately, none found their mark. The herd vanished behind a hill in a cloud of dust, leaving only shaking leaves and a trail of broken branches. Not long after, I spotted a lone boar wandering across an open patch. My gunshot startled it, and the boar shot forward like an arrow, weaving through the bushes. These clever animals rarely run in a straight line, darting in and out of the brush, making it tough to track and shoot. Not every shot will land, and you just have to accept it. As the sun began to dip, our hunt continued. We shifted into flatter, lower terrain. Suddenly, we heard snorting from within the dry shrubs. I could tell a boar was very close. Unaware of the danger, the boar trotted across my line of fire. I held my breath, released the arrow. It struck cleanly in the head. The animal collapsed instantly. Louisiana, located in the southern United States, is well known for its dense swamps and untamed wilderness. These rugged natural conditions make it one of the most ideal havens for wild boar hunting. But the complex terrain and humid climate mean that every hunt here isn't just about skill. It's a real test of patience and grit. Our destination this time was a licensed hunting ground in northern Louisiana. Once we arrived, we quickly spread out to our vantage points, eyes scanning every direction.
Good.
Look, there, down below. This time, we let Alicia, the only woman in our group, take the shot. The boar dropped instantly. A clean takedown, marking our first successful hit of the day. A pre-built hunting blind allowed me to stay hidden from both the boar's sight and scent. Peering straight ahead, I spotted a small group of wild pigs. They weren't particularly large or numerous, but they were too distracted by the bait we'd set to notice any danger.
You smoking?
Yes!
I fine-tuned my scope, lined up the shot, and locked on. Now is the time. One gentle pull of the trigger, bang. A clean, crisp gunshot echoed. One of the pigs took the bullet straight on. That meal they were so absorbed in turned out to be its last.
I shoot one. No, I don't want to aim. I'm going to shoot one. Why you?
while I was still scanning the area for more signs of movement. Baldric, one of our veteran hunters, had spotted an entire sounder of wild boars, big and small, all jostling around for food. He focused on the two largest in the group, staying concealed behind a tall tree near his stand. Instead of firing immediately, Baldric waited patiently, letting the pigs fully drop their guard. A loud shot rang out. This hunting zone was massive, so Lloyd opted to hop in the truck and explore the area for better opportunities. Up ahead, we spotted an automatic feeder, definitely a hot spot for boars. Lloyd stopped the vehicle, stepped out carefully, and moved in. As expected, the pigs had already arrived, lured in by the scent of bait. Finding the perfect angle, he held his breath, locked onto a target, and squeezed the trigger. Boom, a clean pinpoint shot. Another solid trophy added to the haul. As the sun dipped below the tree line, we were making our way back along a narrow trail when we suddenly spotted some familiar silhouettes. Whoa, there were so many of them. From young piglets to hefty adults, they were all grazing without a care. I picked out the biggest, strongest looking one for the shot. My heart was racing, but I stayed composed. When it stepped into my sight line, I pulled the trigger. Just like that, I was dead. A rush of victory surged through me. Deep in the central part of the hunting zone, Jason had locked onto a lone boar slowly weaving its way through thick pine cover. It moved cautiously, pausing every few steps as if sensing danger in the air. Jason didn't let it get away. He raised his rifle and steadied his aim. Seconds passed in suspense. Boom! A powerful shot shattered the stillness. The boar, a massive 200-kilogram beast, dropped not far from where it stood. Take a look, its dark, bristled coat stood out like a shadow against the forest floor. Tension, adrenaline, and pure suspense. These are the unforgettable emotions that come with wild boar hunting. But this journey isn't just about the thrill. It carries a greater mission: to protect crops, restore ecological balance, and reduce the damage caused by these destructive animals. And just like every time, we began another wild boar hunt today. Wasting no time, the moment we reached the mountain trail in our trusty vehicle, we released our hunting dogs to scout freely. Only about 10 minutes later, they erupted in frantic barking, a hopeful signal that a boar had been spotted. I rushed in, gun raised and ready. There it was. I moved quickly, adjusted my aim, and then, boom! A clean opening shot ended the chase in an instant. The boar dropped right where it stood. Hunting dogs truly make a huge difference. Thanks to them, we didn't need to wear ourselves out combing the vast area. They led us straight to the prey. Oh my God, look at that. Not one, but two wild boars came charging straight at us. My heart was pounding, but I kept my breath steady and fired 2 quick shots. In less than 5 seconds, both boars were down in a cloud of dust. An intense and exhilarating encounter. Once again, our loyal dogs came through. Hearing them barking in the distance, we tracked a boar attempting to flee. But this one didn't run away in fear. It charged straight at us with ferocity. Luckily, Roy was ready. One powerful shot was all it took to bring the aggressive boar crashing down. A call came in from one of our teammates. A boar had been spotted on the narrow trail ahead. We rushed forward, just in time to see it bursting into view. Without hesitation, we lined up the shot and nailed it. Another success, another trophy in our wild boar hunting journey. The chase was heating up. From our vantage point, we spotted a dense group of wild boars below. This was our moment. I singled out a boar that had broken away from the herd and quickly took my shot, but missed.
Oradan geçti. Kulağını sardı.
We didn't give up. We immediately pursued it downhill, pushing forward until we found the perfect position. This time, the shot hit. The boar collapsed and rolled down the slope. Mission accomplished. The terrain here was wide and densely forested, not ideal for spotting these clever, elusive creatures. They knew how to stay hidden and moved with surprising agility. After nearly an hour of searching, we finally spotted them on a nearby ridge. We couldn't let this golden opportunity slip away. Rushing to higher ground, we took aim and fired. A clean hit brought one boar down instantly, while the others scattered in fear. Wild boars are becoming an increasingly serious threat in many parts of the world, including the US, Australia, and Turkey. Every year, they cause billions of dollars in damages, wreaking havoc on agriculture and disrupting ecosystems. In our rural region, wild boars are also spreading rapidly, leaving destruction in their wake. That's why hunting trips like this one are held regularly, not just for the thrill, but to control the population and reduce the damage they inflict. Before heading out, the team met to plan everything thoroughly. Thanks to that preparation, the moment we arrived at the mountain, we launched straight into action. Every second felt charged with anticipation. When would we spot the first target? Then suddenly, a herd of boars appeared in the distance. I quickly rushed ahead to cut them off and took a clean shot at the lead boar. More shots followed in rapid succession, taking down several others within minutes. The hunt had begun with an absolute victory. Just as we caught our breath from the first encounter, the barking of our hounds erupted from the base of the mountain. No doubt, they'd cornered another boar. We followed the sound and spotted our target hiding in the thick brush, surrounded by our relentless hunting dogs. I found a good vantage point, lined up the shot, and fired. The bullet hit squarely, causing the boar to stumble and slide down the slope. Another prize secured in record time.
Dördüncü herhalde değil mi? Evet. Dördüncü. Değil mi? Doğru değil mi?
Not long after, a gunshot echoed from below Ryan's position. He had taken a shot the moment the boar emerged. It wasn't a particularly large one, but still a solid addition to our growing success list. We got word from Ryan about a boar trying to escape, so Tristan and I jumped in the truck and rushed over. What met us was chaos. A pack of hounds aggressively surrounding a massive boar. The odds were completely in our favor. I stepped forward, aimed directly at the target, and squeezed the trigger. The powerful shot dropped the beast instantly.
Nasip sizinmiş. Bu grup geldi vuramadı gittiler. Hatta köpekleri de köpekleri de vuruyor bıraktılar.
That evening, we moved to another mountain, changing our strategy. Instead of moving as a group, each of us would take up a separate position to ambush the boars. I stood on a trail, quietly waiting. Then came a single gunshot from a distance, a clear warning. Seconds later, a wild boar burst from the brush, charging down the path. I quickly adjusted my aim and pulled the trigger. Perfect hit. The boar collapsed in the thick undergrowth. Another successful takedown. One of the most thrilling parts of every hunt is the unmistakable barking of our dogs. Whenever that sound rings out, we know we're close. Sure enough, a wild boar had been found and surrounded by the pack. I rushed forward, aimed quickly, and took the shot, clean, precise, and final. The chase ended right there with a satisfying hit. Minutes later, Ryan was back in action, chasing a boar along a large forest road. While scanning the surroundings, he suddenly caught sight of a massive wild boar. Gun ready, he didn't hesitate. A few rapid shots rang out, and though the beast tried to flee, it was no match for Ryan's precision. It eventually dropped, bringing another fierce pursuit to an end. A series of fruit orchards in the area had been ravaged by wild boars attacking under cover of night. The growing damage left locals both anxious and helpless. That's when a friend of mine, a veteran hunter, reached out and rallied me along with our brothers in arms to take action. We moved from Chris's house toward the nearby mountain, constantly scanning our surroundings. Danger could strike at any moment. There it is. A wild boar was charging directly at us. I swiftly got into position and pulled the trigger without hesitation. The bullet hit dead center. The boar dropped instantly. A smooth and promising start. After that first encounter, we quickly shifted to a nearby hilltop to avoid exposing our position. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed from a distance. Wild boars. Shaking off the disappointment of our last failed attempt, we wasted no time and pressed on. Soon, we spotted a lone wild boar sprinting through the brush. I rushed to intercept it. Right as it broke cover, I squeezed the trigger. The ambush worked perfectly before it could make a sound. The boar collapsed in a cloud of dust and smoke. By now, fatigue had set in. We decided to return home and rest. That afternoon, we feasted on the spoils of the hunt, fresh wild boar dishes shared among the team. It was 2 p.m. when we resumed the hunt, cautiously moving along the silent slopes. Suddenly, dark silhouettes emerged along the hillside. This was our chance. We sprang into action, got into position, and took aim. Gunshots rang out, but unfortunately, we were too hasty. Not a single bullet hit. And just like that, the boars vanished into the air. Before we could even catch our breath, our hunting dogs picked up a new target and began driving it toward us. Sensing the urgency, I raised my rifle, keeping my eyes locked on the boar's every movement. With just one well-placed shot, the boar dropped instantly. It was a swift takedown, but one that required patience, precision, and solid instincts. The late afternoon sun bathed the hills in golden light, making them look deceptively peaceful. But this was actually prime habitat for wild boars, where they lived and bred at breakneck speed. They're clever and fast, often weaving through dense foliage to escape danger. But not this time. We had already locked onto them. that final victory, we wrapped up and headed back because staying in the wild after dark is a gamble no hunter wants to take. That's a wrap for this hunt. What did you think of today's adventure? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to follow more. Thanks for watching.